So first of all, hello everyone. Welcome to online CGI2. My name is Allison, as it probably says at the bottom of my little icon thing. And yeah, I'm going to be teaching the class this quarter. So first of all, I'd just like to say if there's anything, I've never taught an online class before, so if there's anything throughout the quarter that you think is working well or not working, or if you have any suggestions for making things better, improving things, please let me know. I do want to make this class as least weird because it's online and as useful to you guys as possible. So I mentioned this just really briefly in the Discord chat if anyone's in there, but the Zoom meetings, I believe if you're on a free account, have 30-minute maximum times. So towards the end of that 30 minutes, I think I'm just going to switch this over to Blackboard Collaborate. It's basically Zoom just sort of built into Blackboard, so we'll punk over a little bit early and just make sure that everyone is able to sort of switch over to that. It should be, I think, pretty much the same setup. I've already set up the meeting. But yeah, so let's just, I guess, start with the really boring stuff, like the syllabus, and just sort of get that out of the way, so we never need to deal with that again. So first of all, this is, again, I mentioned this earlier, but the syllabus is linked in Blackboard. And I also mentioned this before, but again, if you guys have questions throughout this, please let me know. Feel free to just, speak up with your microphone. Online meetings are weird. I can't see raised hands, so the only way I know that you guys have questions is if I hear audio, or I can, check the Zoom chat for questions, anything like that. But feel free to interrupt me, totally fine. So again, I just logged into the Blackboard Learn page for the class, and I've set up a bunch of sort of tabs of useful or related information on the, wait, let me share my screen, sorry. Screen, aha. All right, hopefully you guys can see my screen. So yes, this is the Blackboard Learn page for the class. I have a lot of stuff on the side, useful links and info. So the first one is syllabus and info. This is just where we're gonna go to start. You'll see that there is a link to the syllabus itself, so if you click on that, it should take you to a Google Drive doc with the relevant syllabus stuff in it. Most of my Blackboard stuff, and I'll go over all the Blackboard stuff just to make sure you guys are familiar with where everything is, but pretty much I've set everything up with links to Google Docs. I noticed in the past if I had to change something in like a separate doc for each individual class, I would miss things for classes and it was like really insane. So this way I update something once and it updates for everything. So that's why I do it like that, in case anyone was curious. But yeah, so you guys are my Section 1 class, hooray. Different contact hours. Since this is an online class and it's not really, we don't really need to show up to school, office hours are just sort of like, I'm available via email and Discord random other times. Hello. Random other times that isn't class time. I'll also just be available during class if you guys have any questions about anything. So the basic class structure, I think I mentioned this in an announcement, is going to be you guys critique each other's work. It's just going to be like a written critique. You upload stuff and do written critiques for people. And then there should be, most weeks we're probably not going to do Zoom meetings like this for like everybody. It'll be one of those things where, like, if you need a Zoom meeting for help on a specific issue or you have questions, we'll just sort of set something up. But I'll have pre-recorded tutorials, and you just sort of follow along with them and do little sort of in-class activities, basically, that you'll be submitting in terms of attendance. So I'll get back to that again a little bit later. But yeah, so basic objectives for this course is just sort of build on the knowledge that you guys acquired in CGI1. The primary focus of the class is going to be your final. So there's like 4 little weekly assignments at the beginning for stuff like procedural texturing, learning ZBrush, all that good stuff. And then after that, it's literally just working on your final. And I'll get to your final again more specifically in a little bit. It's basically going to be creating an environment, like a full, complete feeling environment. But yeah, and then, sorry cat. So there's, different learning objectives and all that good stuff. I'm not going to go through and read all of this to you. The content is available. I'm mostly just going to go through the sort of important stuff in the syllabus. And again, if you guys have questions, please do feel free to pop in and let me know. So I've gone through, I've linked the to a Google Drive folder with all of the assignment stuff in it. So if you click on that, all the assignment stuff is written for pretty much the entire quarter. So like, there's all the weekly assignments, there's all the information about the finals. If you ever need to, or if you ever like want to look ahead at something, you're more than welcome to do that. And then there's also some different random extra credits that you can do. I'll get to those later. You can do them pretty much anytime throughout the quarter. But they're just sort of like related modeling assignments and all that good stuff. I heard a message on Discord. Let me just really quickly check that and make sure that nobody is having issues entering. But yes. So in terms of how assignments are graded, okay. Cool. So in terms of how assignments are graded, it's basically whatever the assignment is worth point-wise is the percentage of your grade that is, hello, again, I think. We gained a person and then we lost a person. Let me just also double check and make sure that there's nobody. Okay, cool. Yeah, okay. That's stupid. Okay, sorry. I've never hosted a Zoom meeting with multiple people before. So yeah, so assignments are worth basically 1 point on an assignment is 1% of your final grade. If something's worth 7 points, it's 7% of your grade. If I have to, for some reason, like add assignments on, that will be, I'll sort of like figure that out as I go. Usually it's not an issue. And then there'll be, again, like mini assignments for each week that are just sort of like in-class assignments, basically, like if we had a physical class. It's basically just, hey, if I'm going over modeling threads, I just want you to like model a cylinder with threads on it. That's actually one of the ones for this week. So I'm going to be using that, those little mini assignments instead of attendance grades. So again, not taking attendance, just doing those little mini weekly assignments. In terms of lateness, my cat is like, get off my chair. Every 24 hours an assignment is late, 10% of the grade will be deducted, and after a week, the assignment will no longer be graded. So technically, if your assignment is like 1 minute late, it's a 10% reduction. If it's, 23.5 hours late, it's still a 10-point deduction. Anything after 24 hours is another 10%, etc. And again, if you guys are ever, so this class is also going to be really weird because it's like remote. I know some of you guys are in different time zones. If you guys have concerns about any of that, please let me know. If you have, something's going crazy and you think it might impact your being able to complete an assignment on time, just let me know in advance. I'm usually pretty flexible about letting people sort of tweak deadlines to an extent, as long as you contact me, before and not like, oh, this was due 3 days ago. Can I still like turn it in for full credit? ? So again, just like open communication, and I'm usually pretty lenient with that kind of stuff. But one weird thing that I do sort of hold to is if you have like work in progress assignments, so usually for the final, sometimes it'll be like model half the environment or something like that, and you submit that at the same time as the final, or you like don't do it when it's due and then basically submit the same content from your final for that work in progress that was due a week ago, I'm usually not going to grade the work in progress assignment. The reasoning for that is work in progress is designed to usually do two things. One, keep everyone on a schedule, so hopefully you have the maximum amount of time to actually work on your stuff and you're not doing crunch time. And two, it's important to get feedback from your fellow students and from me. And if you don't submit anything in until like the actual final, you aren't able to get that crit from people. So it is important, again, turn stuff in on time, especially for like work in progress stuff for the final. Are there any questions on anything like that so far? This is weird. I'm so used to seeing raised hands that I like don't see. It's weird. Okay, cool. So that was late stuff. Resubmits, I do allow resubmits. They are due 1 week after the original assignment is due. And the following are not eligible for resubmit. So if you submit something late, that won't be eligible for resubmit. And assignments that are partially completed when originally submitted. So that would be something like, you submit like part of the assignment but not the full assignment is basically a stand-in. Well, if I submit something on time, then I'll be able to go back and resubmit this later. For the most part, unless there's like a really good reason for doing that, like you've reached out for me, we're having, you know, technical issues with your computer, weren't able to render something, that kind of thing. Usually I also won't accept resubmits on that. Again, it is important to turn things in on time where applicable. Disclaimer again though, I realize that this is like a weird class and like not everyone has access to, you know, crazy powerful lab computers with a bunch of technology. So if you're having issues with things, please do let me know. I want to work with you guys to like make this as least painful as possible, and I know it's unreasonable to assume that everyone has like super crazy powerful rendering laptops and all of that stuff. So yes. Other things for resubmitting, if you had any points deducted from the original submission, oh wait, I keep editing. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of times I will take resubmits for late assignments, but if you know, for some reason you lost points on the original assignment for something like formatting, submitting it late, you were missing parts of the assignment, even if you do a resubmit, those points are going to stay off, again, just as sort of like a thing should be submitted in full on time. And in terms of actually doing a resubmit, what you should do is just go into Learn. Everything is done through Learn. All your assignments are graded through Learn. Submit over the original assignment and just put a note in the submission comments or wherever. Just be like, hey, this is a resubmit. And this part is very important. I've decided to be kind of a stickler about this quarter, but if you could also include a brief change log of the things that you've changed in the submission. It doesn't need to be anything super crazy fancy. You can literally just write notes in the submission comments. But again, just like let me know what you changed. It's really, I manage a lot of students and it's really confusing to go back and like look at, you know, 20 or 30 resubmits a week. And if there's no changelog, I have to like look in the original assignment and be like, okay, what was weird with this? And then like compare it. So I end up looking at the assignment like 3 or 4 times. The changelog, A, helps eliminate that, makes things a little bit quicker on my end, but it also ensures that I catch everything that you did, and I actually give you the maximum number of points possible, and I don't like miss changes that you made. So please do include those changelogs. If you have a resubmit without a changelog, I'm not going to grade it. I'll just enter the same grade as it was before with a little note like, you know, if this is a resubmit, please include a changelog. In which case you're welcome to, you know, resubmit again with a little changelog. So hopefully this makes sense. I'm just going to assume that you guys will sort of pop in with audio or something or chat if you have questions about things. But anywho, so I mentioned extra credit before, and that is still a thing. For this class, there is like 4 little extra assignments that you do, and they're basically, it's just going to be whatever, it's the same grading policy as normal, so if it's worth, you know, 3 points, that's basically an extra 3% of your grade that you can make up by doing that extra credit assignment. So this is just points from extra credit are just added onto your existing grade. You will never lose points for doing extra credit. And theoretically, if you want to, you can earn over 100% in the class. It still counts as an A+, but you get bragging rights. I actually had like 2 people where that was the case last quarter, and I was like, oh, wow, that's never happened before, but cool. Aha, that's my timer for theoretically this meeting might end in like 5 or 10 minutes. Alright, so I'm gonna, in like 3 or 4 minutes, I'm gonna see if everyone can migrate over to Blackboard Learn. Let me just get through the extra credit and the attendance, all that good stuff really quick. But yeah, so extra credit, it's all the assignments are written up and available. You can submit it at any point throughout the quarter. Pretty much it's, the due date for it is sometime before grades close, which is usually like the Wednesday after finals week. But I've added specific deadlines to Blackboard Learn as well. You're welcome to do resubmits on extra credit. Same policy applies. Just ignore the 1-week due date for the resubmit. You can pretty much resubmit however many times throughout the entire quarter to try to improve your grade. And it's also better, just in general, if you do one really good resubmit one really good extra credit assignment is better than spamming me with like a bunch of extra credits that looks like you spent like 10 minutes on it. If for no other reason than that one good extra credit you could actually use in, you know, future assignments, for a portfolio, something like that, whereas 3 to 4 sketchy things, it's kind of like, okay, you did some things. They don't really serve much of a purpose past getting points. But yeah, so that's extra credits. I have like Google Docs, they're all pretty much set up the exact same way as regular assignments and all that good stuff. In terms of attendance, the only really thing that's notable here is 3 or more unexcused absences will result in an automatic failure. And in this case, I did mention before, so we have those like little, I'm not doing like traditional attendance, but instead we're doing like the in-class exercises. So basically you'll just have like a little like quick thing to do every week. It'll probably take like 10 or 20 minutes. And you submit that. That's being counted instead of attendance. So what I'm going to do is if you don't submit 3 or more of those assignments, then it will be an automatic failure for the class. So I'm basically using those, again, pretty much as a direct stand-in for attendance. It also shows me that you guys are watching the videos and, you know, all that good stuff. You're able to do the things from the videos since there's no questions and stuff that you can ask for that. Does that all make sense, hopefully? I can't find the chat window at this point. Alright, so because this meeting is probably going to end at some point, again, there's like the 30-minute limit, we're going to wander over to Blackboard Collaborate. So if you go back to Blackboard, if you guys are all hopefully have that open, there should be this like bottom tab on the left side of the screen. If you click on that, there should be, oh lord, hopefully 2 video conferences aren't going to blow up my thing. So I've already made this little week 1 session, and you should be able, I think, to just pop into that. If you click on it, you should be able to just do join session here, and it's going to pull up this little window on the side. So let's all just migrate over there. I will get off of, I will get off of Zoom once most of people are over there. Yeah, sure. It's gonna go through all of the video tests and buttons. Oh, great, I can't see myself. Cool. Alright, in this case, I might legitimately just be like, you don't actually need to see my face. It's mostly just sort of screen sharing. So I'm just gonna say, yes, it's working. Later problems. Really? Haha. Alright. Hello, I see 4-ish of you are joining. Cool. And this should have all of the same sort of screen share abilities and all that good stuff as Zoom and other video sharing qualities. I just need to actually figure out where some of the stuff is. So it seems like there's a menu, start recording, alright. Cool. So there should be a way to screen share and all of that good stuff. Alright, so I'm gonna sort of like pick around and collaborate a little bit more. Once I see a few more people in Collaborate, I will go through and just sort of end the Zoom meeting. Thank you guys for being flexible with wherever we're hosting these online meetings. I know a lot of this stuff is kind of crazy. Weird. I'm gonna minimize that. That's actually pretty cool. They have a little raise hand button. That's a good feature. I like that. Aha, okay. Cool. Alright, and this should... Alright, sweet. So I should be sharing my screen with you guys. Oh lord. Oh no, not this. There are buttons on the right side of the screen, and there's like this weird little button here right next to everyone that's attended. It also seems like everyone is over from Zoom, so you all are welcome to leave that meeting. I'm just going to go ahead and end it really quick. Oh god. If I can end meeting for all. Hooray. Okay. Great. Alright, so you guys good? Can y'all can still hear me and all that good stuff? Pop into the chat really quick. Okay, cool. So yes, there's a chat. Feel free to use the little raise hand button or just like type stuff into the chat if you guys have questions. Cool. Just double check. I'm always paranoid my mic has gone out or something crazy. Ah. How about now? Huzzah! Okay, I had muted myself. Apparently you just joined muted by default, which I didn't realize. My bad. This is also very awkward. I was talking to myself for like 3 minutes. Okay, so to recap what I was saying before I apparently muted myself, thank you guys for being flexible for, you know, sort of where we're having these meetings and popping around for all the stuff. So for Collaborate, this is probably where we're going to do, if you guys have any questions just sort of like during the class time, we'll probably just use this since there's no cap on the time limit. But yeah, so there's like a little raise hand button at the bottom. If you guys ever need to ping me and you don't have audio, you can use that, or just throw something in this chat. It should throw up a notification. So anywho, I guess just continuing with all of the good syllabus stuff that we were doing previously. And again, feel free to interrupt me with questions and all that good stuff. Generic note-taking. Taking notes is good if it helps you. Do whatever works for you guys. In this case, I do usually, I mean, for one, all of the tutorials will be recorded just because of the format of the class. But a lot of times I'll record crit. I'm recording this meeting right now in case you guys want to reference it or if someone wasn't able to get into the Zoom/Collaborate meeting. And I will post those. I'll just post everything in announcements and learn. So you should be able to just sort of scroll through there if you need to access something after the fact. But yes, so critiques. We're going to be doing something, since we're not meeting in person, and I know, again, a lot of you guys are on like weird time zone stuff. What we're going to do is basically do written critiques through discussion boards on Blackboard Learn at the beginning of every class. So when you submit an assignment, and I'll go through this, I have like little sample discussion boards actually written up. But when you go through, okay, sorry. When you submit your stuff, you're going to submit an official assignment to me and then another little assignment that people can actually grade. You do get a few points for actually submitting that assignment twice, because I know it is a little bit redundant. I'll go over all the specific grading of that later. But basically, it's the same crit that you'd be doing, it's just online. So try to take it as a sort of, you know, constructive feedback. Nobody is giving you crit, hopefully, with the intention of, you know, being evil or like putting you down. It's a good way to get sort of fresh eyes on your own work, and it's a good chance for the people that are providing crit to think about things not relating to their own projects, develop problem-solving skills that they might otherwise sort of not think about because it's not relevant to their own assignment. So a lot of times looking at someone else's work is beneficial to all parties involved. So just try to treat it thusly. Try to give, you know, good thought-out feedback to everyone's stuff. Grading policy, this is, you know, how the grades are broken down into letter grades. I have all that set up and learned, so it kind of tells you automatically. There's a breakdown of sort of, you know, what looks like A work, what's B work look like, C work, etc. So basically, it's just sort of like to get the highest grade possible, like to get A's on your stuff, it's going to be good quality work. It's good quality both conceptually, and it's also executed well. So that's going to be, you know, if it's a modeling assignment, like there's no technical issues with the model, and it's also a well done model. It's, you know, something that was challenging to make, and then also just like technically speaking, all the deadlines are met, all that good stuff. It was, you know, submitted on time, that kind of thing. B work to me is usually something where it's like good quality work overall, but maybe there's like 1 or 2 small technical errors in it. Or maybe it's like a well-done model, but it's like a little bit of a simple model that like wasn't really pushing yourself, that kind of thing. So I also have sort of breakdowns of how I grade each assignment on each assignment. I'll walk you through some of that later, especially like we'll look at the pen assignment because that's due next week. But if you guys ever have any questions about how I grade stuff or a particular grade that you got on something, feel free to let me know. Also, if you think you notice any technical errors with your grading, you know, like you think I just literally entered a grade wrong or like forgot to enter something, feel free also to let me know. I am human and sometimes I do make typos. I try to avoid them, but like sometimes I do miss things. So again, let me know. Be happy to correct that stuff, especially if it was like some kind of weird clerical error on my part. So there's like a link to the course calendar if you need this. This is going to be stuff like university holidays and whatever, and strictly speaking, I know there's one that falls somewhere in this quarter, I think, but I'm not sure if we're observing them since it's an online class. So I'll figure that out later and let you guys know. Yeah, pretty much. I'll just stay by for updates if for some reason we need to cancel classes for any reason, anything like that. Generic academic policy stuff, which must be included in all syllabuses. Plagiarism. Don't do it. Don't take other people's stuff and use it in your own thing. So this includes like internet models, models from, you know, fellow students, paid models from online, that kind of thing. I don't really care if you guys use textures from online as like bases for your work. You know, get like scratch textures, that kind of thing. If you want to use something like textures.com, that's totally fine. Just don't, you know, go grab like a model online and be like, hey, this is the thing that I modeled, and like all you did is download it and like put it in Maya. I don't know. I feel like that's fairly self-explanatory. There's links to anything for like students with disabilities, the course add drop policy, which I'd heard at one point that for some reason I read somewhere that like you're not allowed to drop courses because they're online, but I also heard someone saying that that's not a thing, so I'll just sort of keep you posted on that. If you guys have any questions about that, just feel free to email me and I'll, you know, reach out and like heckle the appropriate people, basically. Also links for, you know, withdrawal, all that good stuff. And the sort of course change policy, I think I deleted the line, but this basically says any of the information in this syllabus is subject to change based on the teacher. So if something isn't working or if I need to modify stuff, I might do that throughout the quarter. In that case, I will always let you guys know, probably via like 7 different emails. So again, it is important to check your email or like check the announcements on Blackboard. That's honestly pretty much most of the actual syllabus stuff. So I do have here, in case you guys are curious, sort of an assignment schedule. I've color-coded things based on if it's like a weekly assignment, pre-production, you know, texturing or modeling for the final. So this is like this is when the assignment is assigned. So like week 1, you're assigned the pen model, and then week 2, the pen model is due. So this is, again, I think it's accurate. It should be accurate. Officially, you should be looking at like the due dates on Blackboard Learn. But this is just sort of like a nice little visual. I made it for myself while setting up the deadlines for everything, so I figured I would pass it on to you guys. So that's in the syllabus if you guys need it. And that is pretty much all the stuff in the syllabus. So does anybody have any questions on that? Again, feel free to pop in with audio or just like in the chat. I've been picking at that. Okay, I'm going to assume that that is a no. So I'm just going to go in and sort of walk you guys through Learn, show you guys the different setups for basically where everything is. And I'll sort of like explain stuff as we get to it. So again, if you look in the syllabus and info tab on the left, links to the syllabus, links to the class Google Drive. So this is going to be, as I mentioned before, I set everything up through Google Docs. This is going to take you to all of the stuff for this particular course. So in this case, you have like all the info for the final, pen assignments, like all the assignments, all the extra credit. If there's anything else relevant to the course, I'll put this in here as well. So that's that link. Blah. There's also the link again to the class Discord. This is by no means mandatory to join. It just is a sort of convenient way to talk with your fellow students and with me in like a little bit more user-friendly and like less gross way than email. Any important, don't feel obligated to join that. I will, if I have an important announcement, I will send it out, email it to everyone, throw an announcement to Learn. I might also like throw it in Discord as well. But it's mostly just for sort of quicker responses to something. If, you know, I'm not available for some reason, you can contact your fellow students and sort of use them to help troubleshoot. Link to sample models. Every once in a while, I will be doing demonstrations with particular models. And a lot of times, I have them in this sample model folder. So I have just like different random things that I've been using for a bunch of stuff. I have like caricature models in my head. I have a little shader ball that I made. For CGI1, there was like a vintage tin assignment, so I have like a bunch of this stuff in here if you guys ever need it. I'll tell you, if I'm using a file from that folder, I will mention where it is in case you guys want to grab it and like follow along with the same stuff. There's also a link to a Google Drive with all of the classes that I've ever taught in it, if you ever want to look either ahead to see what assignments are like, or look at, you know, previous versions of CGI2 that I've taught. There's also a huge list of just like random old PowerPoints from different instructors, some of which still have really good information in it. They have like different stuff on like rendering. I have a list of sort of free and other resources. This one's like a little bit outdated. Different sort of places to get stock textures. There's also like, you know, free stuff, like free equivalents of Adobe Premiere, that kind of thing if you guys ever need it. Substance Painter, which is amazing. And just, you know, stuff like that. So if you ever decide you want to work on on something, but you don't want to like deal with Adobe Cloud, you could just download a free software and do the same thing. With the exception of, I would like you to work in Maya for this class, and like ZBrush if we're doing, you know, something in a particular software. For me personally, if you're ever like compressing videos or, you know, comping something together, I don't care if you use Photoshop or a free equivalent to Photoshop, as long as it gets the job done, it is totally fine with me. So I've also have a link to usually where I throw up like all of the recorded class lectures. So in this case, I'll throw up the recording of me going over the whole syllabus and explaining everything. Just a link to that YouTube channel. There's also a bunch of, there's like crits from previous classes, there's lectures from previous classes. So like, I've taught CGI 1, 2, and then animation 1 and 2, I think. So there's pretty much all my lectures from that since I've been recording are there if you guys ever want to look at them for some reason. But that's pretty much the syllabus and info tab. It's just like kind of a place where I dump links to things that might be relevant to you guys. And then if you ever have any questions past this, if you ever feel like you want specific tutorials made, anything like that, please let me know, and I'll usually be glad to sort of accommodate that and make extra videos, and I'll send out links when I get everything up. Alright, that's pretty much that. So assignments is going to be assignments by week. So in this case, I've not actually checked if everyone's completed this. I will do that later today. But pretty much anything that is like due in a particular week is going to be in that week 1 folder. Or if something's assigned week 1, anything that's assigned week 1 is going to be in the week 1 folder. So like the pre-class surveys and like a pre-class folder. And then again, anything that you need to deal with for week 1 is going to be in this week 1 folder. So this includes like the pen model, which I mentioned before, doing a little bit of scene planning for your final, and then the in-class exercise, and this is like pretty much what counts as attendance. This is always going to be the thing. Like, quick little thing, they're usually due midnight the day you guys have class. Again, I know there's like weird timeline stuff, and I'm like, it makes sense to just have it due a little bit later. And then like anything that you need to worry about for week 1, again, in the week 1 folder. In this case, I'll go over all these assignments specifically later. There is like a really silly tiny assignment that's due on the half week. So before next Monday, I think I set it to, when did I set this? It is due the 9th, which is, I believe, Thursday. Yes, Thursday at midnight. Basically, you need to pick a team for your final, and then figure out what you're doing, and that just gives you a little bit of time to get the rest of stuff together for next week. So again, that's pretty much the standard format for everything for the class. It was like, if it's week 4, click on the week 4 folder, this is all the stuff you gotta do. And again, everything should be up and in there, all the assignment docs already written. And then I have, you know, the folder for like everything due finals week, and then anything that's extra credit is gonna show up in this little extra credit folder down here. For assignment details, just click on the little Google Drive links. Again, I'm kind of like a nut for Google Drive. And it should take you to the specifics of what's actually due for that particular assignment. That's pretty much the assignments folder. Again, I'm just gonna pop back, make sure no one has questions, etc. Cool. Ah. They made the like layout of Blackboard Learn super confusing. I'll get back to the group stuff once we go over the final. It's pretty much just like, I made a bunch of different groups, and you guys can sign up for different groups. Announcements, this is, again, where I'll post pretty much any relevant information, useful links, that kind of stuff. I've already sent out like 4 or 5 of them. I also usually send out announcements via email because I know that like Blackboard Learn sends 8,000 bajillion notifications to people, and it's kind of meaningless at some point. So check your email. You should get all this, same info from this. But if you ever need to sort of reference anything from this, you can just go into the announcements tab. It shows all of the announcements for the entire quarter. That's pretty much where that is. Collaborate, we've already found. So we'll be, again, using that. Oh, no, don't open again. So we'll be using Collaborate if you ever need to do sort of like one-on-one sessions or like little group sessions for specific tutorials, that kind of thing. The discussion boards this is sort of like the last major learn thing, but the discussion boards is going to be where you're doing your crit every week. So like, this is something that you're going to do basically at class time, like when class starts. You'll come in, you'll upload your assignments to the week's crit, and then everyone will sort of comment on them and give you feedback. So I have, again, all of the different crits set up for each week. I've done a sample crit, so it just sort of should show you what this is going to look like. Basically, each one of these is like a forum. If you care how Blackboard labels stuff. So like week 2 is going to be everyone's stuff from week 2. In this case, I'll go into the sample one. So anyone can post, once you're in a forum, anyone can post a thread, which is basically just like, if you hit create thread here, you should be able to type a thing. Hooray. You can add any attachments like you normally would. You can browse your computer for Maya files, etc. You can also add images if you want to. And you should be good to just sort of submit that. And once you do, it's going to pop up as a new, basically, thing that people can comment on. So if you click into this, then you should be good to go in and just like reply. You can change your subject lines, all that good stuff, blah, blah, blah. That's not how you spell blah. And then it's just going to make a little thread. So this is basically how you guys are going to do crit. You're going to go in, someone's going to post their own work here, and then other people are going to reply with their feedback. So I've done a better version of this sample thing. So in this case, I've also have like a little note thing here. I'm going to go over all this so you can sort of reference this after the fact if you need it. But I've done a sample crit here where I judge my own work because I'm weird. So this is like theoretically me posting an assignment for someone else to look at. I would like all images to be uploaded, unless otherwise specified or unless there's like a million of them, to be uploaded as inline images. It's just going to make it easier for everybody to see people's stuff. So I've done, here's an example of like an attached image. If you click on this, it's going to open it in a separate tab, which is just like, it's not super user-friendly to look at, honestly. And then if you do like an attached Maya file, you click on it, it's going to go ahead and download that. So I would like everything, again, to be submitted. All your renders should be full HD. But just submit everything as like inline images. I'll show you how to do that. But yeah, and I have specifics in, we'll go over and like look at the crit for like week 2. There's like specific instructions on like the format that you guys should be submitting this stuff in. And then this is like assuming that I had 2 assignments due that week. Here's, theoretically another assignment with another inline image of mushrooms. And then this is me giving myself fake crit on stuff. So I'm not going to go through and like super crazy read this, but basically each week I give you guys a specific set of prompts to answer for each assignment. So I've gone through and basically judged my assignments and given feedback that would be something that I would expect as like, decent feedback for someone else. I've also gone through, if you scroll down, and I've given an example of pretty useless feedback. So pretty much if you give really useless feedback, you're going to get like partial credit for doing the critique for that particular person. So again, just sure, no, yes, like it was pretty, is not super valid or useful feedback. So you really should be, when you're doing these crits, giving people information that has helped them. So right, so like if you, let's see here. you know, there's like a little bit more description here. Instead of just saying, yes, the lighting does a good job, you say, why does the lighting do a good job? Like, things are clearly visible, the weird light colors are interesting, that kind of stuff. So it's not only did you like something or did you not like something, it's why did you like it, or why didn't you like it? Is there a way that it could be improved? So again, the answers here, I mean, you can see they're pretty short. I'm not expecting like novels from anyone's stuff, but I would like the answers to be a little bit more thought out, again, than just like yes, no stuff. So that is pretty much that. Again, you guys can like read through this. I was like actually giving myself like legitimate feedback on this, which is weird. But yeah, so I also go over like, you know, how Humperdinck could have given better suggestions for improving stuff, or like how this particular feedback could have been improved to be more useful and also get more points. So that's pretty much crit. There is specific, so that's like basically what you do to actually post stuff. If we look at the week 2 crit, this is going to be what you're going to do at the beginning of class next week, and I'll send out little reminders like, hey everyone, don't forget to do crit. All that stuff, mostly just for the first few weeks, just so you guys, you know, can get in the groove of doing stuff. For the description of these, I have another Google Drive link. If you click on that, it should take you to basically a description of like, here's how crit works. So again, with just like specific instructions for like each week, like, you know, upload your work. Once it's uploaded, you'll go through and sort of critique 3 people's assignments. So again, each week, you are expected to critique at least 3 people's assignments. And just, it should be, if you see someone already has like 3 or 4 comments on their stuff, find someone else's assignment to work on. And you can just sort of click through and like scroll down and be like, okay, cool, 3 people have commented, let me find someone else. Yes, and if I comment anything on anyone's stuff, that does not count towards 3 comments of student crit. But anyway, I probably won't really comment much on the discussion boards. So again, sort of like different notes about how stuff is graded. So it's actually going to be grading you on each post that you make, basically. So I'm assuming that each critique is going to be worth 0.3 points. You're doing 3 of them a week, so that's worth 0.9 points, or basically almost 1 point on your final grade. So you have like 8 or 9 weeks of crit. Crit is worth almost 10% of your grade. And then I mentioned that I was giving you credit. It's not a lot of credit, but it is still pretty much a point on your overall grade for actually uploading your own assignments. I don't want to have to go through and like download everybody's stuff and then upload it every week. So just, you know, throw your own stuff up there. You do get a little credit for it. And I've put the stipulation that if you don't submit your own work, so you don't upload your own work to the discussion board to receive critique, your grade for crit will be reduced by 50%, and you'll not be eligible for crit extra credit that week. So crit extra credit is each week, if you're required to critique at least 3 people's work. If you do a 4th person's work, you will get 0.3 points of extra credit. This is... Alright, so you can only critique 1 extra post of each week. If you do, you know, 5 posts in a week, you still only get 0.3 extra credit. But this is a recurring opportunity for some easy extra points if you need it. That being said, again, if you don't submit your own work and I have to do it for you or something like that, you will not be eligible for extra credit, and the max you can get on your crit is 50%. If you scroll down, so this is just like the generic, like how crit works if you ever need a reminder. If you go down to, there should be, hopefully, if you guys are looking at this, the little sort of outliner structure thing on the side. If you click on week 2, it will tell you exactly what you need to submit for crit. So in this case, all you need to submit is the pen model. So this will basically be just like a list of all the assignments that need to be uploaded. And then if you look at how to submit individual work, this is going to be specific instructions on how I want you to upload the different models. So in this case, for the pen, you need to upload like some of your reference. Again, inline, not with attachments, and then upload your renders of the pen and attach a copy of the OBJ. So it gives you a fairly specific, hopefully, list of, again, what you need to submit, like the different assignments you need to do, and then how exactly to submit each one. So that's all for the individual work. And then prompts to answer is going to be what you're going to basically just copy and paste into Blackboard Learn to actually give critique on someone's stuff. So like literally all I want you to do is just grab this, copy this, and then just like I would go in, say, to sample crit on my ice cream. Blah. So like just hit reply on this, paste this in, and then just like type in your random feedback. Like that's literally all you need to do. It'll copy in the nice formatting, which makes life easier. And then if you need to, you can, again, attach inline images and such with your crit if you feel the need to do that. The button for attaching inline images is this little sort of like landscapey picture button here. So if you grab that, you should be able to go through and then just like basically pick an image from your computer and it will throw it in super ginormous. So like, I don't know, whatever. Here's like, yeah, cool. Just grab an image, it'll throw it in. Grab one of my fish tank, do insert. Just ignore that button. And this is like what an inline image should look like. It'll pop up in this text box here. And again, that little button is just this little one right here. You can submit that, and then the glorious, hideous aquarium feedback is now displayed. So that should be pretty much all you guys need to do for doing crit. If you guys have any questions about how that works or anything like that, again, please just let me know. I'd be glad to sort of go over that or like do more detailed stuff with that. But that's pretty much crit. So every once in a while, wait for it. All right. Every once in a while, there'll be weeks where you need to submit multiple things at once. Like I think week 3 is one of those days, or one of those weeks. If this loads. All right, there we go. So like in this case, you have 2 things that you need to submit. So one is like a weekly assignment. The other one is something for your final. So I'll give specific instructions and like for the weekly assignment, this is what you need to submit. And then for the room block-in, start a new submission and upload all of this stuff. And the only difference here is, again, it's multiple posts, and then there's 2 separate questions. One's for procedural texturing, and then one's for the room block-in. You can just copy all of this at once and throw it all in at the same time. You don't need to make multiple posts if you're giving feedback. That's pretty much crit. Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions on that? Let me see if there are any like raised hands or anything. Okay, cool. All right. So that's crit. Again, it's due pretty much the beginning of every week if there's an assignment. You'll also find that if you look in the assignments folder, so like for week 2, there's should be a list of stuff. Pretty much assume that like if you have an assignment due, there's crit that you need to do on that. There's also tiny assignments for basically doing a reaction crit, and this is just basically to make sure that everybody has actually read the crit that everyone gives them, because you can type out crit all you want, but if the original poster doesn't look at it, it kind of doesn't do much good. So each week, this is usually due like the day after critique is due. But basically, you just go through and you fill out these little reaction crit prompts. So basically, you upload an assignment, people comment on the assignment, and then you comment on their comments. Basically have some kind of reaction. This is the prompts that you need to grab. And these you can just submit in, you know, a PDF, like copy this, paste it in a PDF, and just submit me the PDF for that each week. It doesn't need to be, again, super crazy long. I do just want to make sure that you actually read the feedback that people gave you. Otherwise, giving crit is less useful than it could be. So that'll be just listed sort of in each week's stuff. So crit is usually due at the end of class, so you should upload your stuff at the beginning of class, in this case 9 a.m. At the end of class, crit will be due. So in this case, crit for a week will be due at noon, basically. And then I think the reaction crit is due like a little bit after that. So if we look at like the due date for this, this is usually going to be due Monday at midnight. And then that's also the same deadline as the sort of weekly in-class assignment. So basically Monday at midnight you have the reaction crit and your little in-class exercises that are going to be due. That's pretty much most of the assignments, most of the weird sort of crit stuff. And again, for the first few weeks of class, I'm going to send you guys notifications like, hey, don't forget to, you know, submit your stuff to crit as well. Like, don't forget to do crit. Because I want to make sure that you guys get into the habit of this. I think that's honestly pretty much most of the, like, weird bureaucratic stuff that I have. Quick note on grades, I've set up, all of the stuff should be set up to learn things. If you're looking at the column real grade, this is like your official final grade for the class. It also has like a little letter grade next to stuff. This is the column I will be looking at the end of the quarter when I enter grades. So this is sort of like, again, the official grade, all that good stuff. You'll see that there are, you know, all the extra credit stuff is also in. But that's just grades. Alright, so any questions on any of that stuff? I'll probably come back to some of it. But I want to show you guys, like, sort of walk you guys through, like, what the final is for this class, and then go over the different assignments and stuff that are due next week in week 2. Let me check for notes. Questions? Okay. Can you guys all still hear me? Is that still a thing? I'm, like, terrified my mic has gone out. Okay. I'm gonna assume that that's a yes. Okay, so let me find somewhere in here. I have like the class Google Drive folder. Alright, so again, in the class Google Drive, there's a bunch of different random, like all your assignment stuff, your syllabus. There's a big doc for the final. It goes over what the final is, as well as pretty much all the assignments that are due for the final. So the basic premise of this, and it's like a pseudo group project. But basically what your final is create a full environment with a central theme and fill it with objects, and you're going to light your scene with both day and night lighting. So when I say central theme, I just mean, you know, if you're doing like crazy steampunk scientist room, that would be, you know, some kind of central theme basically. It shouldn't just be a random collection of random objects. Was that? Yes. So, by any chance are you planning on recording online classes? So I'll be uploading most stuff, probably not specifically to Blackboard, but I usually upload things to YouTube and then I'll, like, link them to people. Or I'll, you know, send out an email like, hey, the class recordings are up. If there's like a specific meeting people want to do with a specific question that they either want recorded or I think would be useful to record, I'll also record that for other people. But basically all of the lectures and stuff, or like little, I've broken down lectures into sort of like mini tutorials, like mini tutorial series basically. So they will be available pretty much as soon as I have them up. If you guys want to go ahead in weeks and like work if I get stuff up early, you're welcome to. But yeah, most stuff that is relevant to record will be recorded. It may just not be uploaded specifically to Blackboard. Does that answer your question? Haha, sweet. That's a delightful notification sound. Like, it's so gentle. Alright, and I do not care about Zoom anymore. Okay. This is... yes. Okay. But yeah, so basically the minimum requirements for this assignment is sort of, you have 3 main or hero objects, one of which is a piece of furniture, and one of which is a decorative object, and one of which is just sort of a random complex object of your choosing. People always ask, like, what qualifies as a decorative object, and I'm kind of, usually how I break this down is, you have 3 main objects, one of them is a piece of furniture, the other ones are kind of whatever you want them to be, as long as it makes sense for your room. I usually look at the difference between the hero and the decorative object as the hero is going to be maybe more complex, and it's going to be highlighted more prominently in your scene, probably, than the decorative object will be. But honestly, if they're both decorative objects, like, that's, I don't know. It's just sort of how everything is described within the course, but, like, I feel like it's kind of vague. So basically just 3 main objects, one of them is furniture, and then if you hear me saying hero object, it's gonna be, like, your main, like, official main object, like, the one that's, like, the be-all, end-all, coolest thing. But they can be whatever you want within reason. Doing something like a vase is probably, like, unless it's a really intense vase, is not gonna be complex enough. I'm looking for stuff that's a little bit fancier, maybe something like a cash register or something like that, or like a fancy, you know, like a fancy chair or like a fancy ornate desk. Something like a folding chair would not be complex enough for your sort of main hero object. These are going to be basically the things that like really show off your modeling and your texturing skills. They're going to be the focus of probably a lot of the renders for your final. So you want them to be something that shows off your skills as well as you possibly can, if that makes sense. So again, the 3 main objects are like, we'll be working on those sort of throughout the quarter. There's a lot of different assignments dedicated to like model the thing, texture the object. You also need a complete environment to put these objects in. And at a minimum, for the lighting, I would like it to be able to see the objects. If it's so overexposed or so underexposed that you physically can't see the details in the objects, that's a problem. Ideally, though, your lighting would actually, you know, add a little bit of like mood or interest to your scene. So that's like the hardcore, just kind of minimum requirements. I did mention before that this is a group project. So there's a 2-person minimum for each team and a 4-person maximum. I have gone through and I've set up a bunch of different groups on Learn. So if you go into group stuff, I think this should be enough groups. There's like 12 people, I think, in this class. And I see 2 people have already enrolled in Virtual Tofu, which is exciting. But you should be able to just sort of like grab a group and sign up for it. If there's extra groups, like if you want to form, you know, a 3 or 4-person group and there's an extra group at the end with nobody in it, that's totally fine. It's just an easy way where, like, maybe if you don't know anyone, you can just be like, I just need a group, like, let me just sort of tack myself on somewhere. So you should just be able to go through, like, if you just click on this, I guess I should be in student preview for this, but you should be able to sort of click through and it'll be like, do you want to join the group? And then you're like, yes, and you're like, great, and then you'll be in the group. If you want the group renamed, that's something I have to do, so just, like, let me know. If you join a group and you decide that you don't like the name Skinning Apples. And I forget if you can leave a group. I don't think you can leave a group yourself. If you, for some reason, join the wrong group, let me know and I can remove you from your original group. But it should be, setting this up, or like signing up for the group should be fairly self-explanatory, hopefully. But yes. So this is a group project. It's like one of those weird assignments where basically each person is going to share their 3 main objects with their teammates. So as a team, you need to decide on like the theme of the room you're doing. So like someone can't do like a Western theme and then the other person in the group does like a steampunk thing, because that's gonna make no sense. You would both have to sort of like come to some kind of agreement and like pick one thing so all your objects make sense together. But the only thing that you guys are sharing between each other is your 3 main objects, or your hero objects, and their textures. And this is important. Each person is responsible for their own different environments to put all of these objects in. And this is like my other weird thing. So if you're unable to get models from your teammate for some reason, you know, they get sick, like whatever, you're still expected to have a complete finished environment. The whole purpose of this being a team project is making it a little bit easier with those extra objects to actually make your room feel populated, and also just to sort of get everyone used to the process of sharing models with a team in a way that's still easy to hook stuff up and you don't need to like manually reapply textures and all that stuff. And this is just like me, so again, if for some reason you can't get stuff from your teammates, you still should be able to complete the final. It's not a bad idea to have a backup plan in case you were counting on like a big piece of furniture from your teammate. for some reason they're not able to get it from you, you should have some kind of backup if it looks like maybe they're not going to be able to get you that furniture, of something that you can do or like use to fill that space instead. And this is just going to be my silly, like, back in the day, we only had one CGI class, and this was the final for that class. So this was pretty much our, like, CGI1 final. And it wasn't a team project, so if we can do it for CGI1, y'all can get an environment together for CGI2. Any questions on that? I'm just gonna, like, pop in. Okay, cool. Too many tabs open. Alright, so that's sort of things, generic things to keep in mind. Smaller environments are going to be a little bit easier to fill with stuff and make feel populated. So I would recommend, like, if you do, you know, a small office or something like that, if you're concerned about filling space, rather than like a giant open plaza or something crazy like that. Again, it just sort of like is going to make your life a little bit easier. There's like a soft requirement for the environment, that it fit in like a 10 by 12 foot space. I'm not going to hold you to that because I feel like that's a little bit like random and arbitrary. But the reason that that is in place is just because, again, it's easier to make small spaces feel populated, and that's going to make your environment feel more complete. So it's mostly just a recommendation for scoping. In terms of questions for groups and student view, that's an interesting thing. I can look in that. I'll do that actually, instead of me doing that now. Group of visible students, yes. Sheet only. Wait. Wikis, grading, tests. Haha. Show members. It should. Wait. Okay. So it should, which, Lara? Is that, hopefully that's how you pronounce your name. Is that, which group are you trying to join? It's all good. But yeah, so my theory is like maybe, because hopefully the show members button is ticked, unless I didn't tick it for all of the groups. If you find that you are for some reason not able to see members of a specific group and there's like already somebody in it, let me know. If there's nobody in the group, it's probably not going to show you. So that is maybe what I'm thinking. But yeah, if you find any more issues with that, just let me know. Setting up Blackboard Learn is full of like 8,000 tick boxes for everything, and sometimes I do miss a tick box now and then. And then actually, if you guys ever are like looking at something and you're like, why is this assignment due 2 days early or something weird, let me know. I double checked it like 3 times, but sometimes I still miss and I like schedule something to be due on the wrong day or something crazy. So if you ever have questions about that, let me know as well. Anywho, so back to the final. So for grade weighting, this is actually graded really, really heavily on the individual objects themselves. The actual final in week 11 is about 7 to 10% of your grade. The models and the textures for your hero objects and all that stuff are graded kind of like weekly assignments, and that ends up being, I think, like 30-ish% of your grade, if I'm remembering the numbers correctly. So this is another one of those things where, like, do make sure that you're doing stuff on time. If you don't submit any of the hero objects, models, and textures when they're due, that's going to impact your grade more than not turning in your final at all week 11. So do be aware of that. This is the sort of, again, not super relevant right now, but this is usually this format where I'm like, here is what to submit. I put everything in big green boxes. So for your final, you're going to submit all of this random stuff. There's info on naming conventions, all that good stuff, which is, again, not super relevant right now, because that's due week 11. But this is also where I've gone through and I've looked at sort of, excuse me, I made like a sort of grading rubric for like how I'm grading this in terms of the lighting, the different random things, kind of like what I would expect for each of these grades. Just so you have an sort of example in advance of like what I'm looking for, so it's hopefully less guesswork on your guys' parts. Are there any questions on the basic, like, sort of what the final is at this point? Okay, cool. So the teams and space overview is actually something that is due this week, and basically I want to run you guys through really quickly the teams and space overview and a little bit of like the digital floor plan. So the requirements for whatever space you make itself is there must be one window and there must be one door in the space. Whether you show them in your renders or not is completely up to you, but there should always be an exit to a room. Even if it's a jail cell, there's still a door. And then the window is just to make sure, it's to sort of like help push the day and night lighting, right? Because if you have no windows, then how are you supposed to tell if it's day or night? And then again, the soft requirement of it must fit in a 10 by 12 space. I'm not going to enforce this super hard. It's, again, just designed for overscoping. If you want to do a 16 by 16 room, that's fine. If you want to do like a football field, I would recommend against that. So assignment requirements for this, again, sign up for your teams of 2 to 4 people. And as a group, you will choose a workshop theme. So there are specific requirements for this. Again, decide on a time period. It should be past to present. You can't do future workshops. And the rationale behind that is you're going to be looking up reference for a lot of these models, and if it's a futuristic workshop, there's no real reference for that. And I know that sounds like really arbitrary, but like a lot of this assignment is geared towards kind of how well you can replicate reference or like put your own spin on reference, but we want it to be something that's like real world based, which is why it should be past to present in whatever theme that you guys choose. So you also need, and this is as a group, to find 5 images that represent a time period and style of your piece. And basically this is just going to be, you're really like, if you're looking for like steampunk stuff, just grab some stuff that kind of like has the feel that you guys are going for in your objects. They don't need to directly relate to your workshop style, that kind of thing. Because again, everyone's responsible for their own separate environments. The only thing you guys are really going to be sharing is those 3 objects. So as long as they kind of make sense together and have the same stylistic feel, you guys should be fine. Excuse me. And then again, as a group, create a list of the hero objects, furniture, and decorative objects that each person will be responsible for. So basically it should just be each person a list of the 3 main objects that they're working on. And that's everything for the group assignment. So this should be something where one person from your group will submit it and it will upload it for everybody. It'll usually, if you're submitting a group assignment, it'll flash up in Blackboard or like a notification at the top like, you're submitting this for a group, are you sure you want to proceed? Just hit yes. It'll submit it, you know, for every 3 to 4 members in your team. So this is, that was the group stuff. So again, basically just figure out what theme you're doing, find some reference images. I feel like I have, did somebody put a notification in something? Wait, what is, aha, there's a raised hand? Akmir? Is there, aha. Are you allowed to change group members' objects? To better fit your scene. So you shouldn't need to. I mean, I'm gonna say honestly, like, I kind of don't care if you guys do. I would still tag it as like something that somebody else made, but you shouldn't need to change their object. So hopefully, if you guys have done the sort of planning and you've decided like, you know, we're doing steampunk and it should be kind of grimy, whatever they make should fit well enough into your scene that you shouldn't need to change it. But again, if you do, I kind of don't care. It's just, I guess, more work on your part that you have to then go in and like modify their textures or their objects or whatever. But yeah, did that answer your question? Sweet. I really like these notifications. They're so like bizarrely calming. Okay, cool. So still for the teams and space overview. So, and this is like what you're going to do as an individual project, not a group thing. You each need to submit one of these. Basically make a PDF which answers some of the following questions. You know, I don't know, they're all listed here. I feel like you guys can read them. But it's designed to get you thinking about how the space is used, If the workshop, for example, if it belongs to like a really old guy, things might be laid out differently. If he has trouble, bending down or something like that, he might not have a lot of boxes on the floor. He might have dropped things and not have been able to pick them up, so there might be like screws on the ground. Conversely, if it belongs to, somebody who's in a wheelchair, that's going to be laid out differently. The tables might be lower, there might not be, a bunch of stuff up high. So just kind of like, it's designed to help you think about who's using the space, like what requirements would they have for the space, and then like how old is the space, that kind of thing. Is it a really old building that's been upkept well, or like a really old building that's like kind of fallen apart because the owners, like an old dude and he just like can't maintain the building and the chipping paint on the walls, that kind of stuff. And then again, if you could just include one more time the list of objects that you and your team will be creating, you can just copy and paste whatever you had from the group assignment for that as well. There's also, you'll be doing a few just sort of like concept sketches illustrating maybe like the final look of your scene. These do not need to be super crazy fancy. It's mostly just looking at like maybe, kind of like how would you want to lay out the space, where might your 3 main objects go, that kind of thing. I'm not expecting like super insane sketches for these. I just want to see that you guys are sort of thinking about the space. Next week you'll be doing some digital floor plans, and this is the sort of precursor to that. And again, make sure that your space has at least one window and at least one door in it. And you can also just label some of your objects, like if you have, a cash register, you can, draw it really roughly and just label it like cash register or something like that. You'll also be collecting a little bit of reference for different things. So one is like the models you're responsible for, so that's going to be like your hero objects. If you're doing an old-fashioned cash register, find some pictures of old-fashioned cash registers. Also look at, textures that you might like and you might want to try to recreate. Get some reference for lighting that you like, and again, just sort of like personalize this the best you can to your space. I'm not expecting all of these, like the lighting and mood reference. If you're doing like Western train station, you can just sort of find lighting that you think would be cool in a Western train station. It doesn't need to be a Western train station with cool lighting, if that makes sense. So it's really just like, what lighting do you think, if you sort of like took the lighting from a particular image and like use that in your own scene, that's really what I'm shooting for that, if that makes sense. But yeah, so that's pretty much like what's due for this. So again, there's 2 parts to this. There's a group assignment, and then there's like an individual assignment for it. And I have specific information, instructions on what to submit for the group assignment, which is basically the PDF listing who's working in your group, time period and style of environment you're doing, the different hero objects, and then the sort of 5 reference pictures of the rough-ish style of the room that you might be wanting to do. So that's the group listing. It's just one PDF. Again, one person in your group has to submit that. And then what to submit for the indie assignment is, again, the PDF. There is a naming convention that I would like followed. There's also concept sketches. And if you could just condense all of those in like one single PNG. Hand-drawn sketches, as a rule for me, are fine. Just make sure the image quality is clear and there's not like really dodgy giant shadows of like your hand and your phone or whatever in the middle of the screen. Excuse me. And again, naming convention for that as well. And also just like one zip folder of all your reference stuff. So this should be sort of 3 separate things, 3 separate attachments as you submit things. So you can have a PDF attachment in your Learn submission, a PNG for your concept sketches, and then a zip folder. I would actually like the PDF and the concept sketches to not be in the zip folder with your reference. So I do want 3 individual things. Zip folder is only for the reference. Hopefully that makes sense. And then just sort of like how this is graded. If it's a group thing, it's pretty much, did you do the things in the assignment? It's not worth a lot of points. I think it's like 1 point. And then the indie grade is going to be basically, half of it is, did you do all the things? And the other thing is, the quality of the questions and stuff that you answered, or the sketches that you did. That's pretty much that assignment. And that's actually one of the ones that's due, if you look in the assignments folder, excuse me. So if you look in the week 1 assignment folder, you'll see that the teams and overview is due, again, week 1. This one's due on the half week. So this is actually due, again, on Thursday the 9th at midnight. I'll probably send out a reminder about this, but please don't forget, this is the one thing that's due on the half week. I usually try to highlight it red. But the reason that I want that done on the half week is so that you guys have time to plan doing the rest of your things. So this is the teams and overview. I'm going to rename this. But this is just the group submission. So basically you should have your teams and like know which type of scene you're doing by Thursday at midnight. After that, you have the scene planning, and that's the teams and space overview. And this is the individual assignment that everyone will be submitting. That's due next week at the regular class time. Hang on. Excuse me. Does that make sense? Hopefully. Okay. I'm going to assume that makes sense. All right, cool. So after that, I'm not really going to go through like all of the assignments for this because that's kind of tedious and